There are quite a few reasons why the Florida Panthers could win the Stanley Cup, and there are also reasons why there's a possibility that they won't win the Stanley Cup. What's up, guys? This is Armando Velez from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and here to discuss the reasons why they will. Let's start with that. Is that this team can score in bunches. This team averages over 4 goals a game, and it's really needed in the postseason as goals kind of slow down and the game kind of slows down. So we will need to see more of that offensive firepower that the Florida Panthers had in the regular season translate to the playoffs. So if they can score the way they do in the regular season as in the playoffs, then the Florida Panthers are in good hands. The reason why, a possibility why they won't win the Stanley Cup is the defense in front of Sergei Bobrovsky and along with the goaltending as well, is if stuff starts to break down and Sergei Bobrovsky does not look like he has in the regular season. His regular season this year is very close to the numbers that he had in his final year in Columbus, and we all know how that happened. Sergei Bobrovsky sweeps the Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1. So if we get that Sergei Bobrovsky that the Florida Panthers, the Columbus Blue Jackets had in round 1 back in 2019, then the Florida Panthers will be in good hand. But that's kind of the reason why the Florida Panthers have a possibility of not winning the Stanley Cup if Sergei Bobrovsky goes back to what he was in the first 2 years in a Florida Panthers sweater.
Welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano. I got Dave Morisuti with me. The playoffs are just around the corner, Dave, and it's looking like round 1 will begin on Monday. And quickly, we're going to go over what we think will get the Leafs through the playoffs or what might hinder them through the playoffs. So we'll start with the positive approach, Dave. If the Maple Leafs win, why?
I think the Leafs will make some of the Stanley Cup contenders that all the players they need to improve their games, a la Mitch Marner, Auston Matthews, have stepped up this season. I think they brought their games to a new level. They took the disappointment from last season and carried it into their play this season. And I also think their blue line is much more improved. The depth that they have and the additions that they made at the trade deadline brought this team to kind of have the depth you need and the play you need to succeed in the playoffs. I think Kyle Dubas did a good job addressing the shortcomings of this team. The depth is there. I think that's exactly what this team needs to have a successful run.
Yeah, I agree. The depth up and down the line, up front in the forward position, also at defense. If this team's not going to be cup contenders, to me, it all comes down to 2 things. One, the Stars got to perform the way that they have done this season, in which they haven't done the last 2 postseasons. Mitch Marner, 18 straight games without a goal. If that happens again, this team's not going to go too far. The second thing, and maybe even more importantly, goaltending's got to hold up. The goaltending needs to be stellar. Jack Campbell, who's recently refound his game, which is a big positive for this team, has to keep that game. If he goes back into a lull where he's allowing 4 or 5 goals a game, things aren't going to go too swimmingly up here in Toronto. But I think this is a team that can compete. I think this is a team that could potentially end a very, very long drought. And you and I will be along for the ride the whole way, pal. And it all starts on Monday. This has been the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Danker here from Locked On Lightning, and I'm here to tell you the why and why not. The Tampa Bay Lightning will win the Stanley Cup. Why? Because this team is the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. They know what has to be done to get to the big show. They know the road, the treacherous road. They've gone through 2 of the most toughest runs that we have seen in recent memory of Stanley Cup championships. And why not will this team win? Because they have also gone through some of the toughest runs that we have seen in recent years, playing in the bubble through that treacherous, in the bubble at Edmonton, Toronto, back in 2020, as well as the frequency, that high frequency of games every other week, every other day last season, and then going again, making a deep run. A little bit injuries here and there, but that's not going to stop the team. But those are the whys and why not. The Tampa Bay Lightning will or will not win the Stanley Cup final.
Hey everybody, it's Ian McLaren of Locked On Boston Bruins, here to give you one reason why the Bruins will and one reason why the Bruins will not win the 2022 Stanley Cup. They will win because they have incredible depth up front. Anytime you can have two lines formed around Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron and Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak, you know you are doing something right. The Bruins arguably have better forward depth than they did in 2019 when they advanced to the Stanley Cup final. And ever since head coach Bruce Cassidy bumped Pastrnak from the top line and built these kind of line combos around January 1st, the Bruins are a top 5 team in the NHL. On the flip side, the Bruins will not win the Stanley Cup because of lack of experience in net. That's such a key position to succeed at the NHL level in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman have a combined 3 shots against in postseason play. And that was from Swayman in relief of Tuukka Rask last year. Linus Ullmark has never played in the playoffs after having spent all of his career prior to this season with the Buffalo Sabres. They have both played very well this season, but playoffs are a very different beast. And, if either of those guys falters, the Bruins will be in trouble. Subscribe to Locked On Boston Bruins for all the latest on the black and gold.
Hey there, hockey fans. I am Jared Ellis, host of Locked On Hurricanes. I'm here to tell you why the Hurricanes will win the Stanley Cup and why they won't win the Stanley Cup. Why they will win the Stanley Cup is because they're really coming into their own when it comes to playing a complete team game. I've said all season long, this is when that team is at their best, when guys up and down the lineup are chipping in on the score sheet, as well as just making good plays all across the ice, even if they aren't showing up on that score sheet. Take the game where they clinched the Metro Division title against the New York Rangers. You had guys like Sebastian Aho and chipping in on the score sheet, as well as depth guys like Jordan Martinook and Derek Stepan as well. Why they won't win the Stanley Cup on the opposite side of the coin is their offense has stagnated at points in this season, especially post March 1st up until the past few weeks. The offense has been very hit and miss. Guys just can't get anything going. It seems like they do quantity over quality when it comes to shooting at the goal, and they're just shooting at the goal, not shooting to score. But all in all, I am very confident in the Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup. They're hitting their stride right now, but if they can keep their offense rolling, I really like their chances.
Is this the Rangers' year? What would stop them from winning the Stanley Cup? We'll get into all that right now on Locked On Rangers. I'm Ross Levitan, filling in for John Chick. We want to congratulate John and his wife for the birth of their newborn child. He'll be back hosting Locked On Rangers throughout the week, but I'm going to give you a quick primer for the playoffs. Now, what does it always come down to in hockey postseason? Goaltending and special teams. Those are two of the biggest strengths for the New York Rangers, and a big reason why I believe they're the favorite to win the Stanley Cup. Igor Shesterkin has put himself into the Hart Trophy conversation. That in itself is huge, but when you're top 10 in both penalty killing and on the power play, you're giving yourself an even better opportunity to win. I love the additions from the trade deadline. Andrew Kopp's been over a point per game player. Frankie Vetrano's come in and stabilized the bottom 6, and they have a superstar in Artemi Panarin. Now, this year, there's the haves and the have-nots in the Eastern Conference, and my only view of how the Rangers can fail to go far is if they run in to a hotter team like the Carolina Hurricanes or the Florida Panthers. There's even whoever wins that Tampa-Toronto series, they're going to be dealing with their own problems, trying to just battle through that first opponent. But I really love the Rangers' chances. For more, listen to Locked On Rangers with John Chick on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey everyone, it's the favorite time of the year. The Stanley Cup Playoffs are just about to get underway, and I'm Hunter Hodes of the Locked On Penguins podcast. The Penguins have made the playoffs 16 years in a row here as they try to get their fourth Stanley Cup in the Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin era. And for the Penguins to do that, for them to win the Cup, they need to get at least decent goaltending. Their offense needs to produce, especially depth scoring wise, and they need to defend a heck of a lot better than they've been the last 2 to 3 weeks. It really just comes down to that. The Penguins, for at least the last couple of weeks, they've been doing a lot of heave and pray plays. Their zone exits have been horrific. A lot of times they haven't been getting the depth scoring from the bottom six, especially from Kasperi Kapanen, Evan Rodriguez, Teddy Bluger, Brock McGinn. A lot of these players have just been passengers. They've been having to rely on their top six to have a lot of these wins lately. And if Tristan Jarry can come back in a decent time frame here, and give them the quality of goaltending that he was giving them for most of the season, the Penguins can do some damage. When they were playing at that high level that we saw them play at, December, January, February, and March, there was almost a team that they couldn't beat at that time. And if they can get back to that, where they were defending hard and getting the scoring and getting the elite goaltending, the Penguins can win the Stanley Cup. Now, for them to not win the Cup, they would just have to keep playing the way they're playing right now. If they keep this up, they're going to lose in 4 to 5 games, whether they play the New York Rangers or whether they play the Florida Panthers. And, they've been giving up odd man rushes a lot. That can't happen in the playoffs. They haven't been getting the scoring. And, for as good as Casey Smith has been at times since Tristan Jarry went down, he's also had a couple of games where he hasn't looked that good either. So they can't no-show any of these games. But if they keep no-showing in the playoffs, they're going to be another quick first-round exit because, this team hasn't won a playoff series since 2018. So that wraps up the short little video on what the Penguins need to do to win the Stanley Cup versus what will happen if the Penguins, they can't win the Stanley Cup. What will obviously will obviously go into them not winning the Cup. For more on the Pittsburgh Penguins, you can check out the Locked On Penguins podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, this is Dan Holme from Locked On Capitals. The reason the Washington Capitals will be able to win a Stanley Cup is because they have the will and fight to do it. This team has struggled with consistency the entire season, but they can really answer the bell when it matters the most. This team took down the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, and the Pittsburgh Penguins in one weekend set. A lot of times people look at this Washington Capitals team and they say, well, yeah, they beat the Sabres or they beat the New Jersey Devils. That doesn't matter. But take a look at the wins that really mattered. They beat the Colorado Avalanche, a team that has the most points in the NHL. So you really can't say that this team isn't built for the playoffs. And if they can get a goaltender that can catch fire here in the playoffs, I think any other team in the NHL, look out. This Washington Capitals team won a Stanley Cup in 2018, and they're coming for another one this season. So don't discredit this Washington Capitals team. They have the fight. They still have the same nucleus of players from 2018. And I think this Capitals team is capable of winning a Stanley Cup. Keep it locked on to Locked On Capitals, and I will keep you updated on all the news on your Washington Capitals. Hello, this is Dan Holme from Locked On Capitals. The reason the Washington Capitals will not win the Stanley Cup this year is goaltending. It's been an issue all season long. Their inconsistency is one of the biggest consistencies on the team. They've gone back and forth between Ilya Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek all season, and they just cannot seem to find a winner between the two of them. They've had some luck here and there, but when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Stanley Cup, you need a proven winner, and the Washington Capitals do not have that in Ilya Samsonov or Vitek Vanacek. One of the other reasons that the Washington Capitals will not win the Stanley Cup is they do not have Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin's official status of today is day-to-day. The Washington Capitals will not be able to win a Stanley Cup with the unproven commodity in net and with the absence of Alex Ovechkin. Keep it locked on to Locked On Capitals, and I will keep you updated on all the news on your Washington Capitals.